Fire and Ice sits around 23 mark. But then again, I think they played less control, or maybe they haven't. But either way, though, Hive is more seasoned, I think, in control overall. I think they've got a better strategy, a better pacing. And because their stats are so uniform in control, that shows to me that everybody is fighting for each other. And when they go to penetrate a hill, they're doing it as a team. And on Reactor, you need to penetrate as a team. If you are playing as an individual on Reactor, you're going to put yourself in no man's land. You're going to be in trouble. And off to a great start already, of course, is going to be Hive. Now, for Fire and Ice, they prioritized a 2-2 split. Fearzly wanted that torque bow. He's already put it to use on Demise. But for Hive, they prioritized getting on the first hill early on.
And that's a beautiful thing. They get that 20, 30-point lead. They start to build it up. Going to be 40 points left on this one, and they're going to go for a second retake here. Torque out the back. It's going to get some splash damage. One more bolt left in the back pocket to try to use. The shot comes through, gets the down. I really love this early pressure by Fire and Ice on this last couple of seconds. They get the decap, the neutralization, if you will. They're going to be able to catch up a lot of points on this. Yes, Hive gets 35, but this first hill is basically going to be split right down the middle, maybe a couple points over to Hive greater, because you know they're not going to stay for the entire trash time. They need to start thinking about that next hill. It goes over to a corner. You got to get set up, get ready for that initial push.
You definitely have to be ready, and obviously teams are starting to figure out, rotating earlier on, leaving a couple of points off of that last hill is the way to play that. Fearzly, don't know what was up with that push, kind of throws his life away to TJ. We'll see where he respawns. You have to, he spawns on the opposite side of the map. Now this could be a blessing in disguise if players 4 and 2, Dyslexic and Toti, stay alive here. Player 3 of Fearzly on the flank could isolate, but player 6 turns around and he's actually all by himself. It was a mismatch for Hive. 2v3, they had the numbers advantage, yet they still lose the fight on the second hill.
Another big down there onto INZEM. Dyslexic pushed up on him. INZEM was a little bit hurt. TJ actually downs INZEM from behind, which is hilarious, allowing Dyslexic to get that kill, that final finish off. TJ here at the bottom of the stairs, he's got his splash out. They're going to have to double, maybe even triple flash. They get the stun on Dyslexic. They get the shock out as well, but nobody's going to be able to really sit here and really hold off this hill, get the neutralization. This is what I talk about. With these corner hills, you got to get there first. You got to be able to set up. You got to make your opponents play into you, because if you don't get there early, you pretty much have to sacrifice all of the points over to your opponents.
It's kind of like all the corner hills, right? Whenever we look at all maps, those corner hills mean a lot, and you have to play them very carefully and then sometimes very aggressively to get that early start. INZEM connects on to Fearzly. I don't think that was a direct hit, but the splash damage enough was to take him down, and that's a good retake for Hive, as I struggle to see, actually. So they're just playing for next currently. They're going to be set up quite well. Another corner hill, right? So Fire and Ice going to have to fight very hard to get inside this hill and penetrate. Look at their spread on the mini-map. 4 deep, and they have multiple angles they can collapse in, and they're going to be doing so. 2 is going to be the main player, though, to challenge on player 8. Oh, he's down. Never mind.
I was going to say, Solurs had a perfect angle. You see where Solurs was playing in the far back of that spawn? He didn't take a shot. My man Solurs was basically playing Splinter Cell for a hot minute. He was just a secret agent way back in the back, waiting for somebody to try to push up. Had the perfect 90-degree angle, got a bunch of shots on, helped get that first kill. They end up getting 2 more. So even though they lose the hill from behind, they're going to give up points over to Fire and Ice. They're actually transmitting over to the next hill. They're trying to get into that situation to keep cutting away at this lead. Beautiful kill there by Solurs. If I'm them, I'm rotating out, just getting to it. It might be 140 to 50, but you could really set up again on that next hill. You've really put yourself, though, in a bad position if you try to retake and you fail here.
Yeah, absolutely so. For Fire and Ice, man, Colin, they have a tremendous lead, and Xploidz is heating up. Now, one of the things going into this series that I knew was going to be a trouble spot for Hive, despite them having some impressive victories on Control himself, even with the 4-1 record on Reactor, is for Fire and Ice, their control is pretty much flawless. They just have a great understanding, and I think it caters to their aggressive in-your-face play style. They're the Wolfpack specialists, as Blaze likes to say, and I knew coming into this series for Hive, they were going to need to win at least one of these controls to have a good chance of winning this series. But off to, I mean, even more than double the points that of of Hive is Fire and Ice, and I'm getting a little bit worried for them, but of course we haven't even reached a halfway point. Still so much Reactor to play.
Nice first shot there by Solurs. That is a big brick. They get the down on Toti. The next bolt comes out, doesn't connect with anybody. Solurs is going to be full red, now down and dead. Good flank there in the middle of the map by Dyslexic. Dyslexic plays that same kind of position as INZEM does on the opposite side. Dyslexic plays up on people. He likes to kind of take 1Vs. He likes to challenge out across the map, make people make a decision on whether they're going to help their teammates or try to win a fight and survive. And right now, Dyslexic is doing a very good job of breaking back into maps for his team. One bolt left in the hands of Xploidz. He's going to throw this bolt to the top side. It's not going to help get any kills there. Demise will win that 1v against Dyslexic. 30 points left in this one. The frags will go off. Xploidz in the backside. Beautiful little angle there. Second shot connects. Now they got to worry about Fearzly. Beautiful job. 4 deep in the hill. They get the kill. 20 seconds left on this one. I think you might leave them there until under 10 seconds. Try to get this up to 90, maybe 100. You got to start being able to get this lead to be chopped a little bit each and every time you rotate to the next.
And also, too, mentally, think about it, right? You don't want to be looking at below 100 points, which Hive rotates off of that. It's at 95, but, you know, you would feel a lot more comfortable being at that 100-point mark, knowing, okay, we just have to close out 60 or so points, but either way, we know we're within the same ballpark points-wise of that of Fire and Ice. But ultimately, they stay at 97, not too far away, still going to be okay. F&I, though, rotating early on is going to put Hive in a do-or-die moment where they got to get this break for TJ. He's already down. INZEM's going to get that pickup, but I mean, really, it's not going to go well for them. You can see them getting put into the blender. That team fire from F&I is phenomenal. Dyslexic, he's going for that poke damage. I believe a couple are going to be on their last down, so they got to be careful here. That's going to be one out of the way. INZEM is going to clean up Toti. From the flank, though, is going to be Demise as Hive goes for a pinch, though, an opportunity to get the break. And because Dyslexic had to cut back and focus his attention on Demise, man, INZEM finds an opportunity to push in and get that break. Fire and Ice gets about 20 or so points from that hill, but Hive is looking to get the rest.
Hey, real talk, I'm going to throw this out there. Did you see how Fearzly played out in the far? Beautiful shot right there by Toti. My goodness gracious, he got a headshot right there. Did you see where Fearzly played out in the spawn just like Solurs did a hot minute ago?
Sure.
Fearzly didn't get any downs and didn't get any kills from that spot, whereas Solurs helped get 2. That was the difference in this initial retake by Hive. Because he didn't get any kills, his team was able to get pushed from the front side pretty easily, giving up a lot of spacing, a lot of different shots and positioning. Beautiful shots on Dyslexic, finally get the kill on him. You see Xploidz just staying here, trying to stay alive as long as he can. Make this very difficult for these two players. They get a close spawn to the next hill, though. This is big for Fire and Ice. They've got player 2, Dyslexic, right back up in the spawn, right back in an area where 2 of the members of Hive are still stuck in the backside of this hill. They're going to push up very quickly in a 3v2, try to get these 2 kills very quickly, and the pinch comes through as well. Xploidz spawns to the 90 degree. That is just, I don't want to say luck, but my God, you couldn't have asked for much more.
Oh, TJ, though, picks up 1. He missed that first torque bow. Stuns are going to be out. Toti's about to be challenged. I think TJ gets tagged up a little bit, but can F&I hold this hill? Hive has been doing such a good job wolfpacking as the hills, or at least the round has been extended. Still, I think one more bolt to his name with that torque bow, and Hive will get that break despite Fire and Ice getting lucky, if you will, getting that close spawn, getting the first points and the first touch. Hive able to get that break. And, you know, on the start of Reactor here for Control, Colin, Hive wasn't looking that impressive. You know, they weren't breaking hills, they weren't holding hills, but I swear to you, as the round extends on, Hive starts to look stronger and stronger and stronger.
Well, there's 30 seconds left on this. They get the 2 kills out in the back. TJ's trying to just wait. Shock is going to be in. Beautiful shock out. But again, the 90-degree angle spawn for Fire and Ice is there. It is ready to be able to get shots on these 2 players who are trapped at the bottom of that ramp like rats. They're in that back hallway. TJ's going to get another down. Try to finish off 1 kill. My God, the way TJ has lived through 2 different 90-degree spawns is nothing short of miraculous, ladies and gentlemen. It's why he's one of the best players on the planet. It's why you can continue to give your faith and trust in him to put your best foot forward for your squad. I know he got a lot of flack. He got a lot of grief being the quote-unquote 5th man for UYU, but he comes back over here to Hive and shows why you could build a roster around him if you wanted.
And you really can. I mean, you absolutely can. TJ is just getting better and better every single split. By the way, nice nades from INZEM. Takes down Xploidz and Fearzly. Dyslexic will take down Solurs, so it's going to even up the odds just a little bit. But Fire and Ice goes for 4 strong inside the hill now to only 2. And the hill obviously is contested. TJ, though, is going to be in a really tough spot. Yeah, splash damage comes through. He's going to have to stand on his own 2 feet here as Fire and Ice goes for the penetration. Dyslexic hits another great shot. The stun is in, but Fire and Ice can't push up just yet. But there it is. Finally, the retake is in. TJ's gone. Demise is out of the way. INZEM goes on to Toti, but you're looking at 4 members from Fire and Ice, and they're going to take him down now. F&I really starting to lead the charger despite Hive's heroic efforts just before. Its opportunities for Hive to come back is still there. But Fire and Ice can be dangerously close to the 250 mark, and obviously 50 points away from 300 makes you sweat a little bit in Hive. They're going to have to step it up even more than they have in the past.
Beautiful kill, Xploidz, right there. I really like the fact that he was able to stay patient with that fight, get that kill, keep the shock grenade in his hands. Hive is going to have to over-rotate. They're going to need to go find Xploidz, try to get a kill on him, and get into this next hill very quickly, because now we've seen the call out on Xploidz. They get the mark out as well. Good shots onto him, have him full red. Xploidz trying to go for the angle, doesn't get it, goes down. He gets the shock, I believe. INZEM, we need to check that out. Take a look at his character bar. He already threw the shock, so INZEM has a flash right now. The shock must have been wasted because he did pick up the meat shield. That would have been a big differentiating factor had INZEM picked up that shock from the corpse on the meat shield.
Now, Solurs does get that fresh Torpo call, and he's going to be rotating in. Obviously, Hive knows we need to take this hill. They've had great penetrating power, and the reason why is because their teamwork is on point. Trying to rotate that back player back. The splash damage might have been enough. If they go for the challenge, you got to get him out of there. That's going to be Fearzly. Either way, Hive does get into the hill. Fearzly is gone. A couple of members from Fire and Ice still on the outside. Toti goes in for one. Gets him, and INZEM is also down. And Fire and Ice, despite the pressure from Hive, retakes the hill for their control. Starts getting closer and closer to 300 point mark. TJ is gone, and Fire and Ice so close to victory.
What a beautiful retake. My main man, Toti, went nuts right there. He went nutty, but he bounced it around between 2 players from Hive, getting back A's off, getting beautiful bricks, getting downs. This is a very good hold by Fire and Ice. This map looks like it's going to be finished up on this hill. There is enough time for them to win it right now.
Yeah,
they're down to 15 seconds, and I don't see Hive really pressuring up toward this hill again. They're not going to have enough time. This will be a 1-0 lead for Fire and Ice going into that second map execution. This is going to get very scary for Hive coming into this next map as well because of that map 4 looming with that 7-0 for Fire and Ice and their stats.
Yeah, it's going to be very scary, right? Regency, we already know, is going to be map number 4. For Fire and Ice taking map 1, though, Reactor is no small feat. Again, heading into when we saw that stat line for both teams, right? We were looking at a 1-1 record overall for Fire and Ice. We were looking at a record of 4-1 for Hive, right? So statistically, Hive was absolutely the favorites. And I talked about their stats being even across the board, Colin. And you can really see that kind of represented in the way that they were breaking the hills. I'm not going to lie, when they all 4 collect, even 3 strong were, pushing in as a unit and getting those breaks, they were doing so successfully. But Fire and Ice was rotating a little bit earlier, and I think had more impact overall once they were set up earlier because their defense was strong, that wolfpacking was in. I think overall, the scoreline obviously being 300 to, I believe, 174, Colin. This was a great map between both rosters regardless.
Yeah, what a first map. I'm trying to think of the words to use. Again, it's not really lucky. It's the way the spawns worked out for Fire and Ice, though. Yeah. Because for me, one of the things that really stood out is in the hills that Hive was able to control, the spawns for Fire and Ice were more with their teammates, more in an area where they could kind of keep the controlled fight, keep the fight in front of them. There was a lot of fights, though, toward the end of that map, where either Fire and Ice would get somebody into the middle of the map or far away enough from the hill to allow the 90-degree spawn. And what I mean by that is, instead of having the fight in front of you, it's now there and to your left. It's not behind you, it's to your left.
Yeah.
And it's really hard, especially on Reactor with those Lancer lanes, to really play defense to your left. Like, I know I keep saying the word left like it's some kind of godsend. But I just want you to imagine, it's a cover-based shooter. You're squatted down behind a wall, and all you can do is go left and right on that wall. You can't go forward because that's where Fire and Ice is already attacking you from. And oh, by the way, you can't go backwards because that's the end of the map. So you're stuck on the wall going side to side, and somebody spawns directly to your left. It is so unbelievably hard to overcome that. We saw the only time they did was TJ having to go absolutely crazy up some stairs and get a double kill. If you don't have him going double kill in that situation, that's an even worse scoreline for Hive.
And, you know, there was two players on Fire and Ice who really impressed me, and they really lived up to the stats that they currently have, and that's Dyslexic and Xploidz. We already know Dyslexic is a hot slayer. He's the one who has the most caps and breaks for his team, statistically speaking. It makes sense. You want that guy such as Dyslexic, who's just, you know, cracked out of his mind at times, Colin, to get in that hill and just do what he does best, and that's slay out. Xploidz, though, has a tremendous KDA, and the reason why he does on control, obviously, is because he is the one who's consistently picking up your M-bar, consistently picking up your torque bow, and at times even the frags. He's a walking tank, and he's a high-impact player. Got a, you know, decent caps and breaks. He's always there fighting for that hill alongside that of the rest of his teammates. Of course, him and Dyslexic are the main guys who are going to be, you know, fighting for that hill control. But I think both of those guys played very, very well. Really impressed with Fearzly at multiple times as well. You know, you highlighted him multiple times throughout that map. Again, big win overall for the boys of Fire and Ice. They're hungry for the victory. 300 to 174 was the scoreline. That's a pretty dominant win, but again, I think it was overall a very well fought out battle, tooth and nail on multiple hills. We're heading in to Clocktower Execution. Now, Clocktower Execution is a decent map for both of these rosters. Who are you favoring heading into this? Because one of the players who really stands out stat-wise is Solurs. I believe he has a 4-point-plus KDA, brother. He is insane, not only in the kills, but also in those assists.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that sets him apart and allows him to be such an impact player for Hive. The thing that worries me for Hive in this map is how quick Fire and Ice is. And by that, I mean, off the initial, they get to their spot very quickly. And if Fire and Ice is coordinated enough, I believe we'll see a bunch of strategies built around trying to get Xploidz into the sniper, get him into that spot to pick it up, because we all know how deadly he is with it. You get that in his hands. He then goes for those body shots, and it stops being about whether or not you can survive that shot or whether or not you can play back enough. It now becomes about you having to deal with a secondary fighter, because I doubt Xploidz, as good as he is getting headshots, he's not going to go for highlight reels. He probably just wants to finish us off. He'll get any kind of shot he wants onto you. Once he hits the body, somebody's going to get the call out, and then somebody's going to press you trying to hit 3 to 5 pellets and put you butt down on the ground.
So you're worried about the intensity, right? You know, Fire and Ice, and fair enough. I think that's a real thing, because we do see Fire and Ice get aggressive. Now, granted, for Clocktower, they've only played it once, as far as I can tell. They've only played it once. It was against Dream Conspiracy. They won 6-3. As far as that goes, you know, Canals, Checkout, Tomb, those are the maps that they've been, you know, kind of fighting for in the rotation. Now, granted, Fire and Ice has several 3-0s or 4-1s, so it's not like they're going to Game 5 a lot, which means there might be not as big of an opportunity to play on Clocktower per se as other teams who have played on Clocktower a little bit more. I do want to say something, though, as far as that aggression, Colin, for Fire and Ice. There are a lot of times I'll see a team, you know, initiate that push off the rip. They'll get aggressive only to be put into the fatal funnel. They get lancered out from that back pillar guy as well as the guys on tree. Could that aggression from Fire and Ice kind of be counteracted by Hive backing up and putting them into blenders, so to speak?
I think the best counter for it is less about going for those double lancers to get shots on. It's going to be more about the player playing the bottom of the map, whether it's going to be INZEM or Dyslexic, and that is a big matchup down low. That's a 1v1 for the ages. Dyslexic with a bunch of shots onto INZEM. Beautiful job to get the damage on him, press him back and forth. I like that INZEM, once he got a little bit of the damage lead, actually stuck with it and tried to make sure he went down. Right here, you're playing a little tit-for-tat game, because what those players in the host pocket are doing is they're looking over the top and getting shots onto you as you try to push into that tank. Now it's a full 4v4 up top. Everybody's up here going and vying for their positioning, jockeying toward that sniper rifle. That's a body shot out by Demise on a Dyslexic, and you saw Dyslexic. He sat on down. He said, that's a lot of damage.
He said, I don't want this anymore, brother. Hey, give me a breather, okay? You can't really push, though. For Dyslexic, Toti, and even Xploidz in this kind of, you know, spot, And even on the other side, right, for Demise and INZEM, their job is to stay alive. You do not want to drop in this moment. You don't want to be the first down. You don't want to be the first blood. I mean, first blood is just a terrible spot to put your team in. Obviously, at a man disadvantage. Fire and Ice is trying to bait out INZEM if they can with the Lancer Fire. And Xploidz is being kept in check by the pillar players. Now, for Hive, though, they are too strong on those back pillars. Maybe they have an advantage with TJ and Solurs to get that quick pick on the long shot, depending, because Fearzly is only really the only one who can keep them in check, if you will. But we're still at that standstill. Overtime starts in about 30 seconds.
Well, what we're going to see here is, I think the first thing you're going to have to worry about is INZEM has left hand on that toe spot, on that secondary spot, excuse me. They could pressure across to go for that pick, but now with the hill spawning in 15 seconds, Fire and Ice, this is the intensity. This is the quickness I was worried about. You see how fast they flew down to the bottom? The only difference is Xploidz got called out. He was all by his lonesome. Now 4 members from Hive have to actually push into that back car area, make sure the Dyslexic and Fire and Ice can't get into the hill. They're going to try to get touches on it. Captured in 1 second. Beautiful back roll by TJ to get the kill. Hive, they come away with round number 1, and that bad boy went to the overtime, and it was a mad dash for the hill behind that car. We ain't talking no salesman. There was no cash involved.
Hey, man, it's always a mad dash for those hills, right? Because you cap it so quickly, and if you got that man advantage, you got to pounce on it. Why doesn't Dyslexic fully commit for the torque bow in that moment, though? Why doesn't he go for the torque? Because that torque would have been massive battling for that hill.
It's the extra 2 seconds gets them in a spot where they can sit on the sandbags and Lancer him out as he comes out, or worse, they have somebody sitting in the hill, capping it up almost all the way up, and then he gets the shot off and they finish the cap off. But 2 big kills early. No third kill comes through. INZEM tries to rotate up, but I mean, he's stuck between 3 players from Fire and Ice. They're going to bounce in, finish him off. That was a beautiful aggression round by Fire and Ice. You saw they didn't play around with anybody. They pushed straight up. They got into the face of Hive early, and they just applied pressure.
Brother, that was Xploidz. I mean, my goodness. I mean, he just flew at the team of Hive. No worries, reckless abandon, no care in the world, and that's that aggression you were talking about, Colin. One of the worries you had for Hive specifically, and that's Fire and Ice being aggressive. Round number 1, they weren't aggressive. They played at the pace that Hive might be more comfortable with, and obviously we see the results of that. So maybe this is going to be Fire and Ice starting to, heat up and really show that aggression that we expected them to have early on.
Well, now a lot of shots are coming out. Beautiful shot right there, a beautiful flash right there after the shot to be able to get that down, but they couldn't impact it because another flash came in, landed right in TJ's lap. Once again, stacked up 4-4 here. Lancer out for TJ once again. You see them backing up into that host pocket, backing up into that prison area where that back pillar player is as well. Right here, this is going to be interesting because INZEM again, it's left hand, so you're going to need a lot of damage on Xploidz to try to be able to allow INZEM to go for that rotation and get that one shot down, maybe even that chunk from that position.
Yeah, Fearzly's not making his life easy as well, and you can't really even keep him in check. So for INZEM, making that push, he has to expect, not only is he going in left-handed, but he's also being peppered by Fearzly as well. It's just not a good situation. Fearzly backs up, maybe an opportunity here to push onto Xploidz is there. Hive takes their time once again alongside that of Fire and Ice. And the last time this played out, Colin, Hive won this because they played effectively for the overtime hill. Maybe we run into the same situation if Fire and Ice isn't careful. I expect Fire and Ice to make the first move, quite honestly.
Well, that's because Fire and Ice, I think what they're going to have to worry about is, or what Hive is going to have to worry about if Fire and Ice does make that first move is, like I've been talking on that secondary position, they've got right hand, so they might get a little bit of damage and be able to pressure up. Look at this. They throw the flashes, they get it down, and now they're going to break out into this fight. TJ has the nades down low. That hill is going to be spawning momentarily at those double cars in between a couple of players. INZEM and TJ try to get to the backside of this car. There's nobody here to help them. There's a down on INZEM. TJ playing ring around the rosy, pocket full of posies, ashes, all of Hive. They fall down. Demise, he ain't got an ice cube chance in hell. He gonna die just the same. 2-1. Fire and Ice take the lead.
And one of the players that really helped in that bottom fight was Seven, and that was Toti, I do believe, up top, lancering down for his teammates, and Dyslexic feeling more comfortable to challenge that of TJ, and even the other members from Hive as they were going ring around the rosy, as you said, around that car. So fair enough, great job from Toti to see that as an opportunity. He takes it, helps out his team members. Let's head into round 4, Colin.
Oh, Xploidz waited for that second flash and went for the same little move, that same little back A move that he went for a couple of rounds ago, and it was called out and basically scouted perfectly by Hive, and now they've got the 4v3 advantage. And you see they're going to rotate one person down. Smoke's out now, another flash into the area, trying to stop that Lancer. They might try to rotate into that back pillar, try to go for these kills. Another big down by Solurs, gets the meat shield. Dyslexic on a big flank, 2 big shots out, double bounce out, gets the kill, trying to get up into the face of another player. Won't be able to get that next one, but now it is a 2v2 stacked up. Meat shield in the area.
Oh, do they get away? Do they get away?
Nades. What happened to the nades?
I don't know, but at this point, it's going to be a 2v2. Make that a 2v1. Dyslexic was the hero just earlier, bringing this fight down to a more manageable position for FNI. Oh, he barely gets away.
Well, I don't think he pick nades.
I don't think he, oh, but yeah, you're right. He doesn't pick nades, and Dyslexic can force a 1v. Now, the biggest question, though, you have to ask is, where's the overtime hill going to be, Colin? Because at this point, Hive, if it's up top, then obviously Dyslexic, he probably doesn't make it out of here. But
Dyslexic, I think, is going to stay here and try to throw him up through that hole. If it's up top, he's going to try to get that first kill using the...
Oh, no.
Okay. Or he's going to bank one off into his lap.
You know what? I'm laughing, but good on Dyslexic to go on that flank, because at that point it was a 4v3. He knew, I need to pull off some heroics. He gets that early tag damage. I think it was on INZEM, and then he starts making that push forward. INZEM ultimately lives, but he was instrumental in picking up 2 members from Hive. If he gets Toti out of that spot, which I think Toti was on his last down and was eventually finished off, they were trying the chain revive. Maybe, just maybe, FNI wins that round on the back of Dyslexic and Toti, but ultimately Toti falls, Dyslexic in a rock in a hard place. And I guess the nade he just didn't want the smoke at the end.
Shots over the top. No smoke's thrown out just yet. Trying to look for the opening. Xploidz here has to be concerned about the same possible maneuver being used against him, and that's why he's kind of staying out this backside. He's trying to stay just away from that corner, trying to make it a little bit harder for anybody to make a move. See here. Not giving into it. INZEM is not getting baited out. He's not pushing into that fight. Once again, this is one of those situations where somebody's going to have to learn to make a move, try to make that next initial push. Because it could be bad news bears if they do not.
Man, nobody's really tried to go for long. Here's the actual, speak of the devil, Fearzly finally goes for it. I was about to say, no one has even laid their hands on the long shot, but finally Fearzly gets it. Hive tries to counteract by getting a pick. Great body shot. Not enough, though. But even so, for Fire and Ice, having that long shot in Fearzly's hand is going to be deadly. And Hive is going to have to be very cautious as to how they approach this fight. Plus, she also, I believe, player 7 drops down low. Yeah, Dyslexic goes and picks up the frags, and Fearzly hands off the long shot to Xploidz, which, of course, you got to give it to Xploidz. So at this point, player 3, he's going to challenge down low, go on the flank. I think he's going to be put in check, but how does Hive battle against the frags and the long shot, Colin?
It's going to be hard to. You got to try to bait out the first frag, but while you're running around like chickens with your head cut off, you got to not get hit by the body shot or the headshot of Xploidz with that sniper in his hand. Right now, with that hill spawning there, it's almost inevitable that it's going to be all over with the crime because they're going to have to push straight into that hill.
My only worry is, oh, okay, so frag connects onto INZEM, and that was my worry, was going to be Demise on the flank. I didn't want Fire and Ice to kind of get carried away and forget about it, but ultimately, they'll go ahead and take that round in the way of the overtime hill. They just had 3 members. You know, again, that was the first fight. Round 5 was the first time we had seen anybody lay their hands on the long shot, because up until that point, no one was making any moves for it. So good on Fearzly to see that opportunity, smoke out, get his hands on it, and really put that pressure to Hive early on.
Yeah, and Hive is almost playing from behind on this, I think. I think this is one of the things that people need to take note of against Fire and Ice right here on Clocktower is Hive seems like they're not playing the way they want to. They're having to answer Fire and Ice's decision making.
100%.
Dyslexic goes for the nades early, is full red. They have the right side of the spawn though, so nobody can actually angle him out from up top. They can't see him behind that van, so it's impossible to try to get that kill on him. Dyslexic might be able to get away for free. The player on top of the host pocket tries to get some shots on him. Full red, doesn't go down. Dyslexic just by the skin of his teeth, by the hair on his chinny chin, and I'm not sure how many are there. Now INZEM's on the flank. Frag out to the left of INZEM, bounces one off the back cubby corner. Full red, beautiful answer shots by Dyslexic, get the down. And they have TJ down. This is looking like it's 4-2, and Hive are going to have to continue to play from behind.
Yeah, you know, you said it best. And I was about to say the same thing, Colin. Hive isn't playing their game. They're playing Fire and Ice's game. You know, when Fire and Ice slows it down and doesn't challenge, even so, Hive isn't making a move, right? There's no distinctive move. They're literally waiting until the ring pops up, you know, the overtime ring. But up until that point, they do not try and strike. You know, INZEM wants to, you can tell, right? Even on the left hand, he wants to push forward, but he doesn't. So at this point, Fire and Ice has been dictating the pace for all 6 of the rounds we have seen so far.
Here we come to round number 7. Hive needs to start finding an answer. They need to start being able to pressure players from Hive. Beautiful little flash out.
They got to fight for long shot or frags or something. There's an answer.
They finally did. INZEM fought for him, but Xploidz is going to get the snipe and get to be able to go wherever he wants. And as a matter of fact, they push across the map. They got Demise and his teammate full red, I believe. Thankfully, though, they finally hit a shot to be able to get that kill. INZEM is now down. I don't know if they got the pick on him. They did not, so the nades are now off the map, because there wasn't a meat shield pick. So it's 3 versus 3, no nades, and Xploidz has the sniper and an immediate rotation down to the bottom hill. They know where it's going to spawn. They're going to rotate down here, set up all the way at the backside of the car with both power weapons, and they're going to make Hive make a miracle play.
Yes, one of the things that Fire and Ice does very well, at least from the one time that I've watched him play on, well, I've seen him play on Clocktower multiple times. Obviously, only once in Pro League, but you got to consider and factor in E-Days as well. They love to get the long shot and the torque bow and really utilize the bottom side, especially whenever you know, the new hill is coming up. Now for Fearzly, he drops. It's a 3v2. Still, you have to consider the torque bow and the long shot, but things just got a little bit better for Hive, depending. They do have the man advantage, so when that overtime hill does eventually pop up, which I assume Hive doesn't make this push. Why would you? Hive is going to be at a distinct advantage positionally, so it's going to be up to F and I to get a pick.
I think this is going to be weird. They don't have any smokes, I don't think. I'm looking at they have 1 flash in the hand of Demise. That's the best they got as a flash. Maybe they'll get the frags just in time for the hill to spawn. Waiting over it. There the frags go. So Demise now has 2 frags to throw. They need to push up into this hill. They need to get into this area where they can stop them from being able to hold on to them. They're looking for that snipe player. Demise is going to push out. They go for the hip fire. They go for the fantastic shot. And it's not a miracle play. It's a lot of very... hey, man. I'm trying to make a point over here, Xploidz, and you're just going to blow my man's head off like that, all right? I know you didn't want to go down without a fight, but that's just rude, dog. That's just rude.
You know, Colin... Quite honestly, again, it comes down to Hive having the positional advantage, right? And those frags and holding onto the frag. Yeah.
If Fearzly doesn't go down 3v3 and they've got the 90-degree angle, it's all over but crying in that round. But Fearzly loses the 1v1, and that's what I was about to say. It opens up a world of opportunity for Hive to go for a retake.
And that was a weird push by Fearzly too. You know, he goes in for the no scope. I don't know if that's necessarily a thing for the torque bow per se, but doesn't even aim down sights. Doesn't even really try to be accurate with it. He just tries to go for a body shot up close, and he's hit those, but it was, in my opinion, too reckless of a play. Now, this is going to be a tricky spot for F and I as they try to go for the pick on the long shot, but ultimately end up a little bit more poor than they started off with. Xploidz, though, hits a nice shot, brings it to a 2v2. Fearzly's going to be by himself now, hitting some great body shots, and Fire and Ice makes it out of that. That was almost an impossible situation, at least in my eyes, as obviously Hive was getting those Lancer shots. You know, they had the aggression. That was the first time we have seen Hive made a distinct move off the rip, but ultimately Fire and Ice, up close and personal, they win their engagements.
And I like that fight by Fire and Ice. Again, they're being able to make play calls. They're ahead. They're being able to pick and choose what fights they want to take. Whereas Hive is having to play from behind this whole entire map. They're not being able to make any play calls. And this, to me, almost looks like a team that's not very versed, not very experienced in execution, getting welcomed to it. And I really don't think they should, because they have a guy like Solurs on their team, but Solurs never was, you know, touted for having the being... Toti, I don't know about that.
Can't happen. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's just... This is a very interesting situation, because I just wouldn't imagine that Hive would be having a team really make them make the decisions the entire map.
And you got to really think, when Toti doesn't take out Dyslexic there, how does this round play out? It's really hard when you take down Dyslexic that early on. Then Toti, I don't know, tries to redeem himself. Just Blades of Glory. Just heads down straight into 2 players on balcony and ultimately drops his life off trying to make that move. But you know, the chips fell as they did. So let's head into a round number 10, and an opportunity for Hive to come back and into round 11 is absolutely here, depending on how Fire and Ice plays this out. And we might have a battle for frags down low once again. We haven't really been seeing that up. Maybe round 1, maybe a couple of times here and there, but it's been very sparing overall. But looks like we're going to be at a bit of a standstill for the time being. Dyslexic does rotate up. Do frags go to Hive? Yeah, they do. So INZEM picks them up. Let's see what they do with them. These frags could be huge, but F&I's making the move.
F&I had a lot of damage across Xploidz, gets called out on that front side of the pillar. Never ends up getting a down from where he was, but 3 kills come out. It's going to be a 3v1. INZEM's going to bounce around, try to make a miracle happen here. He's going to go down. That's going to be the end of map number 2. Fire and Ice deliver the beatdown after a beautiful map 1. They get a succinct map 2. They're going to win this thing 6-4. And INZEM is going to have to spend about a week and a half in the hospital, as his kidneys are never going to recover from this one.
Oh, man, no. And that head, he's going to have to see a nice plastic surgeon, brother. Nice plastic surgeon to fix all that damage. Hey, 6-4, Fire and Ice leading 2-0 over Hive. They're looking to make this a quick series. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll break down both of the first 2 maps and obviously talk about Escalation on Vasgar. Welcome back to Gears Pro League Split 3 Phase 1 Day 8. We just witnessed a Clocktower execution between Fire and Ice and Hive. Fire and Ice takes the victory 6-4, and they now lead the series 2-0. Things are getting scary for Hive, who has been on fire as of recently, but Fire and Ice has put Hive on ice, it seems, and well, Fire and Ice is all fire. Let's see, or let's at least break down execution. And for me, it came down to, and I know you kind of pointed this out, right? Hive not making any moves. They did here and there, but for the most part, Hive seemed way too passive, Colin.
They did seem way too passive, and it seemed like they were trying to make they were making decisions, but it was like every time they wanted to go for a player, they wanted to call out what might be going on, it was stopped at the front door by Fire and Ice. They said, look, no deposit, no return, no entry, no trespass, whatever you want to say. And then every time Fire and Ice said, we're going to throw this at you, it was like Hive basically looked at him with hands up like, I have no idea what you're doing. I don't know why you're doing it either. So what is going on here? And yes, it's 6-4, but a lot of those rounds by Hive were won because Fire and Ice it kind of fell to the wayside in a 1v here or there. They gave up a position. They gave up an initial. It was one of those situations where Fire and Ice had that map in hand for all 10 of those rounds. I never once doubted or thought, like last night, I thought we might see a comeback after 2 rounds won. Last night, I thought we might see a comeback when it was like 3-3 or 4-3, whatever it might be.
Right.
Tonight, I'm like, I don't give a damn if it's 5-1 in favor of Hive. I never felt like Fire and Ice was not in control of it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I have to ask you, it's probably not this, but I'm going to say it anyways. Is that more of a fear factor of what, like, okay, if Fire and Ice brings the heat, if they get aggressive, we don't want to deal with them up close and personal. So then that translates into, let's play passive and kind of put them into the fatal funnel, if you will. But obviously playing too passive gave Fire and Ice way too much of an edge.
And I don't know if it's playing passive. I was going to try to make this point during the matchup. Solurs was never looked at as the brains of the operation. He was the perfect soldier. He's always been the perfect soldier. It's why he gets that moniker. It's why I continue to say that that's what he is. He's not going to come up with a bunch of different looks. You and I got to cast over a team that threw 8 different looks in 8 different rounds. They didn't care what their opponent was going to do. They were going to stick with their game plan. They didn't change. When they played that 3-man behind back pillar first round, they lost it, but they didn't play up because all of a sudden they realized, oh, crap, we're going to get pushed. They continued the strategy. Hive looked at this and said, 2 up, 2 down, 1 back pillar. 2 up, 1 down, 1 back pillar. 2 up, now 3 up because they're doing 3 up. So let's go 3 up with 1 back pillar. And it's like, guys, make a decision, show some light. This is not the Hive we have seen of recent. Not the Hive that I thought was going to win. It's the reason I damn well picked them and thought that they were going to continue to play at that top tier level. I need to see life out of him. I need to see him fight back. If I was a ref in a boxing match, I'd be going, what day is it? What's your name? Do you know where you are? Is this Paras or the MGM, baby?
You know, and it's funny because coming into this, it was so hard for me to go with Fire and Ice. It really was. And I debated, you know, even after I sent my predictions in our chat, I said, you know, do I really want to stick with F&I? Do I want to switch it up last minute and go with Hive? Because the more I kind of, you know, dove into the stats, I said, well, Hive can do this. Hive really can do this. And obviously with Hive's, you know, pedigree as of recently, why couldn't they do this? Why couldn't they dethrone Fire and Ice, you know, or maybe not even dethrone them, but at least beat them, right? Give them one of their few losses that they currently have. And just, I'm not seeing that Hive, that deadly Hive that I was expecting to see tonight. The deadly Hive that I have seen in the past, they're falling very, very flat. Now, one of the things, though, that I will say that worries me about Hive is, again, you have two very distinct players. And you mentioned one of them, obviously, being of TJ, right? TJ is a phenomenal player, great IGL. He's really come into his own. He is just... you know, I'm in love with the guy, okay? You know, he just plays very well. And Solurs is another guy on that roster. If he performs well, Hive is on fire. I don't think TJ and Solurs have been playing up to par with how they've been playing as of recently. And if those two are falling flat, that's 2/4 of your roster and two of your deadliest members. If they're not there, Hive isn't there. And right now they're not there and Hive isn't there. Now, things could turn around, though, Colin. We're heading into Escalation on Vasgar. And I know you know, when it comes to Vasgar for Hive, you know, it's been hit or miss, but they did beat VQ on this map 5-3. That's an impressive victory. When you look at Fire and Ice, though, they are struggling on Vasgar, which is funny because go back, you know, split 2, phase 2, and even in the spring major, you put Fire and Ice on Vasgar, you're like, man, these guys are going to be good here. Dyslexic tears it up. He loves a Seeker, man, but Fire and Ice has been very flat on Escalation, but more so here on Vasgar.
Well, here we go into the first round of Escalation, and a 2-2 split is on the map right now, and it looks like Demise is a little lackluster, really, kind of waiting back and forth across the arrivals, seeing where the first move is going to be made. I think what needs to be said and what's going to be important is INZEM and Demise have the elevation. They're probably going to have to give that up and make a push over to the home hill of Fire and Ice. And you know what I got to stop forgetting, Taylor?
I'm all ears, man.
I got to stop forgetting that Fire and Ice was just the grand finals.
Do you really forget that?
All the time. All the time.
Because it's so new, right? You know, because F&I was always that team that performed well in E-Days, performed well
when I think of second place,
League.
That's only meant for one team in my head.
PK?
I'm not going to say it. You said it. You said it, Taylor.
Well, and that's not a dig, all right? I'm not digging like Jacob did that one time where he made that questionable comment. I'm just saying, Colin. I'm just saying, for Pittsburgh Knights, they were always in second place. Now, now, they're probably a top 8 team, but
I really honestly forgot
they were there
just in the finals, which is why I think I keep picking against them. My brain's like, this is the Fire.
Why do you think I keep going for them, Colin?
But that's what worries me is I'm like, what does Taylor know that I don't know? And then I'm like, crap, they were just in a grand finals.
You know, I have always, you know, more often than not, seriously, across all phases, I have gone with Fire and Ice. And I've been going pretty consistently with Fire and Ice, even when Krabby's was on the roster, because I believe in the org, I believe, but more importantly, I mean, you can believe in org all you want, but I typically believe in the roster that Fire and Ice is able to put together. This roster's been playing together for a while now, Colin. A couple splits, okay? So Fire and Ice, they 4-man unit. They're confident, they're strong, and like you said, second place in the spring major. Now, did they get beat down in grand finals? Without, like, they got destroyed, manhandled. It was my first grand final I ever cast, and all of a sudden, in 5 minutes, it's over with, okay? I wanted a little bit more, okay? But overall, for Fire and Ice, they are a great team. But that standstill, I just want to say, was the most boring gears I have seen yet. Thank goodness the teams make a move. But for Hive, they get the 2-1 off the rip.
And they get a beautiful couple of shots there in the middle, but both players from Hive kind of falling and opening up the rotational flank by Xploidz. And I don't know if they know he's there yet, but they're going to know here momentarily as Demise and INZEM are going to get shot in the back. They come back off of respawn to try to get the kill. Demise will get it. They get the A hill back. The C hill is yet to be retaken by Fire and Ice, and you're going to see Hive try to probably get up onto this B hill But this is a weird situation because Hive needed to go. They needed to press. They needed to... What is happening? What?
This has been a funky round, brother. Like,
Bring me a defibrillator, my man. I'm losing it over here.
Dude, you know what? I don't even know how to use it, so you're screwed. You know what I'm saying? Call it if that. Unless you go and practice in the airports on those mannequins, okay? You know, then I think you'll be good to go. But now all hills are going to be decapped. Hive, sure. Well, it comes down to this 2v2 on B. I mean, this is everything.
Yeah, and beautiful shots by TJ. Get the win there. Up to Toti. Toti hits a brilliant shot, but doesn't get the kill or the hill, and it's going to come all the way down to the wire, but it is indeed going to go the way of Hive in round number 1.
That was not a fun round to watch. Yeah, that was... I'm going to be honest. You know, from what we've seen in Control and what we've seen in... I mean, honestly, that kind of mimicked Execution on Clocktower, Colin, where you have a standstill for like 2 minutes and then they play for overtime, you know? And it kind of came down to like, all right, we're at 150, now let's make a move. Okay, now let's make that first move.
It was, that first round was a lot like finding out that the tuna in Subway sandwiches isn't tuna.
What'd you say?
Have you not seen that Twitter story yet?
What's not tuna? Tuna's not tuna at Subway?
The tuna sandwich at Subway is not actually made of tuna. And to be frank with you, the FDA couldn't identify the species readily that it's made of.
You're kidding me.
Go look it up, baby.
No wonder Subway has a high turnover rate. I'm just saying, okay?
You thought I was kidding.
That's frightening because I used to eat tuna all the time from Subway. You know, when I was deployed, Subway was my jam, brother. I'd go over there and try every combination possible. Every combination possible. All right, well, fair enough. I'm not eating tuna again.
That might explain why you're so good looking.
Because I eat tuna?
God only knows what superpowers it gave you. You didn't eat tuna. That's what you got to remember.
No, I did eat tuna. I ate a ton of tuna.
No, you didn't. Whatever you got from Subway won't tuna.
You're right. I did. Who knows what I ate? Check it out. Dyslexic clearly is eating his Subway tuna, though. All right, whatever it is. Mystery meat, okay, that you get at the DFACT or your chow hall. We got the big tank fight underway, though. 3v3, and nobody's been able to get this hill, man. It has been a battle, bro. This is like night and day from round 1 to round 2, but clearly the long shot has, kind of awoken the fighting spirit for both of these rosters. And also to mention, too, up top, player 4 does, in fact, take Charlie, and it seems as if the tank fight is finally won, and Fire and Ice will give Xploidz that long shot and kind of double back to defend the push from Hive against A.
We see here we're Hive only with 1 hill, double in points or so. And setting up for the next retake, Hive is going to have to come off a spawn, and they're going to have to press right into the beautiful long shot ability of the one and the only Xploidz, who has the 90 degree as they come off these cubbies. Demise narrowly misses getting his head blown clean off the back of his shoulders, bouncing around, trying to keep out of the sight lines of Xploidz, and Xploidz is actually going to back all the way up. But Fire and Ice, that's what I was talking about from last round, is Fire and Ice knew that situation was not going their way, and they just immediately flew at Sea Hill. They said, let's just get over there at this point.
Yeah, and at this point, Hive is going to have to fly literally every single hill. Losing any member from this point on is going to be devastating. You can tell Hive, though, is going to break up for that 2-2 split. We have Fire and Ice now sending player 8 off of the respawn. Xploidz going to get a nice headshot. Solurs, keep your head down, brother. Xploidz is connecting. I think he had a body shot there, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, though, this is looking like an F&I round very shortly. And this fight for Hive onto A needs to be won without question, without contention, but already a headshot is in. Demise is by himself. A gets broken. All hills get broken, as a matter of fact, but F&I recovers with the 2 hills and wrap it up. It's going to be 1-1.
1-1, Fire and Ice. They find the way to win this round. And what I think needs to be said is, again, Hive is just not making any moves in a timely fashion. This is so worrying in just a general sense. I'm not sure if they're just packing it up, if they blew their double barrel load last round, what it might have been, because they seem like they're on E, baby.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried, brother, because, man, this series is not what it's cracked up to be. I mean, it's really, granted, Control, and I'll continue to say Control was great, even though it ended in a way of 300 to 174. I think it was a massive battle. I was impressed with how Hive was breaking the hills and at times holding the hills, but even so, they do lose by more than 100 points. Execution in 6-4. I mean, I guess on paper you could say it's close, but like you said, Hive not making a move, and here on Vasgar, nothing happens. I mean, literally nothing happens until Fire and Ice says, okay, enough is enough, let's push forward. And then Hive reacts, but other than that, Hive isn't doing anything.
Yeah, Hive is just sitting back. It's like they're expecting themselves to win all these fights and be able to just come through in the clutch for themselves and get these kills, get these hills, and they couldn't do it on Execution, and they sure as hell aren't doing it right now in Escalation.
Another standstill. Both teams staring eye to eye. Which one's going to ask the other to the prom? I don't know, but the 3v3 continues over at Bravo. The 1v1 between A and C, between 4 and 6 INZEM and Dyslexic might break out, but who knows? It's the most unique Escalation Vasgar, and we've casted a lot of Escalation Vasgar, and this is by far the slowest Vasgar I have seen to date. Huh.
Somebody nerfed Vasgar without us knowing.
Yeah,
I don't even know. When I say nerfed, I don't even have any idea what they did to it.
Is there an invisible wall we don't see where they're like, hey, we can't cross this point until like X amount of points have been gained? Maybe. Huh. All right, smokes are down. Let's see a push. Not just yet. All right, Toti, let's go, baby. Nice shot on to TJ. Demise is going to go ahead and bait and switch so TJ can get his health back up. Toti's going to continue to push forward with his teammate of Fearzly, or excuse me, player 5 is going to be Toti. So Toti is actually going to pick up both of those players, and Hive, once again, standing still until Fire and Ice makes a move. Fire and Ice finally makes that move, and then Hive isn't ready for it.
Without a doubt, and Fire and Ice again with a 2-1 hill lead, they're just going to be able to continue to rack these points up and just make life miserable for Hive and all their fans. INZEM tries to push up with that retro, tries to get it down, but Xploidz is already over there. He's going to be able to hit this body. Ooh, misses it just by a little inch, but now he knows that the snipe is in the area. Dyslexic has a backup plan, and look at that. Over on the opposite side, Toti gets the decap, which he doesn't even go for the triple cap domination. He knows if he stands there, it's basically just sacrificing his life. Instead, he plays around the hill, making it very difficult for them to come back into this round because the lead's just going to continue to amass and build up. Thankfully for Hive, though, they got the decap on C. They're getting their home hill back off of respawn. Just a matter of time before they could get back into this, but it was for me, that was a beautiful little play by Toti to try to make it that much harder.
It really was. And he almost wins that fight, too, but TJ backing up, getting out to a coin flip, at least for my eyes. Fire and Ice now with the 2-1 back in their favor. And again, same narrative as a couple of rounds ago, right? Hive has to be perfect and flawless in this push. They are split up 2-2 on opposite sides of the map. 5 is going to get engaged on player 3. Obviously, Xploidz in front of you is going to be there for the 1v2. Good movement. Xploidz is staying alive and dancing around, picking up INZEM. Solurs now is going to be just down below. He's finished off and wrap it up. Fire and Ice will lead 2-1 over Hive.
Fire and Ice, just I'm trying to look for motivation to get super hype and super into this, but Hive is not giving me any reason to believe that they're going to come back in this map. They're doing the same thing they did on Execution, and I just don't get it. Why? I don't get what's going on with them tonight. Like, I'm trying to look for what's off, and without being in the comms, without being able to talk to these players face to face like we would at a LAN event where I could walk up to them after they finish playing and be like, hey man, can I just have a moment to ask you what the hell just happened over there?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm gonna be honest with you, but one thing is for certain, there's got a shock and there's a retro, and Fire and Ice being on the arrival spawn is most likely going to make an aggressive early move for the long shot. They've done that before, right? When they were on arrival spawn, the long shot was placed in round number 2. And I expect them to be very aggressive here. And they know Hive's not going to challenge them. This should be a free pick. Oh, and player 8 goes through mid. Player 8 goes through mid. That's going to be Fearzly, and he's going to be on the flank. These boys from Hive are about to be put into the blender.
Yeah, they have nowhere to run, really. They see one player rotate up to try to re-challenge, and that was going to be Demise, but Solurs gets left up to his own devices. They get all the kills over there. They get the B hill, and thankfully Demise does find one kill, but a little bit of red might put him down and dead if he ended up getting body shot right there, but they're not going to be able to get anything going. Demise just, I mean, he's just going to continue to kind of do that little roadie strafe. He's not going to be able to go up and forward.
All right, they know they need to get this long shot out of the way. Xploidz having just the utmost pressure put on, gets away, but nobody there to save the day. They'll leave him to bleed out. The battle's going to be on Charlie up top. Hive most likely is going to rotate. Well, I guess they're going to go through mid over towards C. They're going to force the 2v2, maybe a 4v2 as player 4 is going to be off the respawn. That's INZEM. And could be a bit of a mismatch. No, it's not going to be. So it's going to be a straight up 3v3 battle. Dyslexic, though, is going to be the first one to make the move. TJ has fallen. The team pickup is in, but you got to be careful. Now he only has 2 more downs left.
Dyslexic is basically going to be able to hold down the house and home over there at C because he's playing that front position up on that pillar. Xploidz in a 1v1. It's not a massive 1v1. Demise will win it. You can see that they rotate Fearzly back into the area, and I like the movement quickly. Solurs is going to move through the middle of the map, trying to offer up a little bit of help, a little bit of guidance here. Good shots onto Fearzly. They get the down, which will force the other 2 players from Fire and Ice up to try to get the kills here on TJ. That's a beautiful rotation. That's the first real signs of life we've seen out of Hive. They get the downs, they're going to get the kills in quick succession. Xploidz has rotated over. That new snipe should be coming back up very shortly.
And very shortly indeed. Xploidz wants it. Oh, he's not going to get it, though. You have to think TJ, baits him out. Solurs is there for the help. And this is going to be a huge positive for Hive, especially this late in this round. You got to favor Hive at this moment. TJ cross map, can't get the connection just yet. The battle for C will be underway shortly as TJ is going to go ahead and back up, get that angle if he can, plus pick up the fresh shock, which is going to be great. Because Fire and Ice can't pump on the brakes, right? They've got to get this break here, and it looks as if they're going to be successful in doing so. Now, the question is, how's the fight on B going to go, right? But I guess, really, that's not the question. C is just fine for Hive. They keep it locked in. Solurs will win his fight cross-map, and Hive will tie up the first half, 2-2, going into the second.
And that's a good job as the hills are going to flip. The rounds are really going to change a little bit because that 1v1 over at E or 2v2, whatever it ends up being, is going to be much more important at the early goings. Hive shows signs of life here. They are 3 rounds away from getting their first map on the board and trying to get them back into this game as of now. On the edge right here, though, Fire and Ice looking to try to finish us off and win it 3-0 over Hive. But you see just a very difficult spot as you continue to lose these initials. You need brilliant mid-round plays. You need big wins on 1v1s like you just saw against Xploidz in that last round to be able to give you that kind of momentum shift that you have going. Now we're going to see the Incendiaries out by Fire and Ice, opposite side Boltox and Shocks for Hive to try to use to get the control over this tank and this long shot. 2-2 over here and a 3-2 over here and a 2 versus 1 on the opposite side of the map.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Because for Fire and Ice, I think they're going to prioritize that they can get that free lane, that breakthrough, and get on the flank before Hive makes the first move. But Hive has already made that move, pushed up, and punished the boys of FNI, or at least player 7, right? Plus, also, you got to account that Solurs does get that long shot. And did Fire and Ice get the value they were wanting? Well, that's going to be a trade. Fire and Ice does get the 2-1 hill advantage, but I guess this pinch is going to be everything depending on how it works out for them. INZEM is going to be in an up-close and personal battle with that of Xploidz. Xploidz, man, puts him on skates, takes him out. And the double back, the domination might come in. And again, a very different look for Fire and Ice, Colin, but it seems to be working. And Hive just barely holds on, man. That got scary for them. And it's still not over with just yet. FNI is still 3 strong.
I would say, honestly, the thing that I think is putting FNI in front and in the driver's seat in this matchup is they've done a much better job of finding where their numbers are greatest or finding where the mismatch is and taking advantage of it faster than Hive has been able to answer it. And you saw in that one, a 3 versus 2 over by the tank, but I mean, Fire and Ice chilled out. They was big chilling in the Maybach machine, baby. They said, look, you're going to have to push against us if you want that sniper. Hive on the opposite end, they press over. They say, we got a 1v2 over here, and then I might be able to shoot him. We might be able to stop him from getting the E-hill, and then all of a sudden it was like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. They got in the steamroller, and I became concrete.
It's going to be a 2v2 on F and D. Now, if Hive plays their cards right, maybe, just maybe, they lock into domination before FNI gets off the respawn, but I mean, that's going to be a perfect world. But with how the scoreline is, I mean, Hive kind of, that is their win condition, right? That's what they have to do. Both of these fights must be won. It's already a rough start. One 2v2 battle is going to be lost. The other one is going to ensue. Dyslexic hits Solurs with an absolute brick, goes for the cover, and nobody's there, and Toti will get the cleanup, and Fire and Ice will answer back, win the first round of the second half, and lead 3-2.
2 rounds away from a 3-0 as well, and I think, again, it all boils down to that initial. It boils down to Fire and Ice being able to take advantage of their numbers in just different situations as we continue to watch the developments here going into the later parts of this map. I think what you're going to have to see from Hive is they're going to have to start to really press the issue. They're going to need to be able to fight back in a situation where Hive is going to need to take control. They're going to have to grab Destiny by both haunches and let him have it.
All right, both haunches. See if they do grab onto him. I don't know what a haunch is. I want to be honest with you, Colin. What is that?
A haunch is like the back leg of a cow, and it's the easiest way to tip them when they're sick. Try to get them to expel, so that you can try to get rid of the sickness if they're not vomiting. So you grab the haunches and tip it. That's why you grab Destiny by both of them and let them, just flip them. Let them have it.
Grab those haunches, man. Pump me up, Colin. Let's see if Hive does grab those haunches. Fire and Ice right now is definitely doing it. Toti's going to be dropped, though, so things do get a bit shaky. Xploidz trying to be the hero, not going to happen. And Hive makes the first move, and once again is going to be rewarded with that lone shot for themselves. Solurs will pick that up. Fire and Ice is going to be at a disadvantage for once, right? They're not going to have that 2-1. They're not going to be able to take a big point lead. And they're spread across the map quite a bit. Player 6 is kind of in no man's land by himself. Does 8 go through mid? Does player 6, fully commit for the challenge? Does player 3 even know he's there? I got a lot of questions.
Not a lot of answers as of right now. 3v3 over here. Solurs takes a shot with a sniper. Doesn't find anybody looking for the body shot on that player that was marked. Beautiful shot there on the INZEM as you see him slides into the cover. Goes up to the 90 degree. Doesn't hit the headshot there either. Another body shot on the Xploidz. We'll see that first down. Continuing to get the downs. One more will get this kill. It's a body there onto Toti. They're going to be able to press up now because that is a lot of damage done. Quick down and kill by INZEM. Now the fight will break out as Xploidz starts to fight back against the tide here. He gets that first kill on INZEM. Now he's got to worry about Solurs. Gets the down with a snub on him. TJ's been killed off by Fearzly as well, and it's going to look like it's going to flip right over to the home hill, straight over to D. Everybody down. Everybody dead. Fire and Ice. They are going to put themselves on possible map and match point if they can get one more set of slays.
Oh, yeah, they're going to do it. TJ's fighting. He's gone. Domination attempt once again coming through. Solurs at the 1 yard line. He's battling against a meat shield. One does get a touch. There's that final team fight you mentioned. Demise is going to try and stay alive as long as possible. The domination's coming in. Demise does get the touch. I think you can really see the writing on the wall depending, though. But, I mean, either way, though, look at this. I mean, even if Hive does stay alive here, they're not going to thrive by any means because Fire and Ice at the 200-point mark. Hive just at 112. But, hey, Hive is still in it. The opportunity to tie up the series tie up this map is here, depending on how this goes. And the instance miss. So, Toti, you got to play this right.
There goes the first shot on Toti, trying to win one of these fights. Beautiful big down there, trying to continue to bounce around, stay alive for as long as he can. Pushing up. Dyslexic is trying to get over to that hill, trying to make sure that nobody can get into that area. They get their home hill neutralized right now, but they got to get triple breaks everywhere because Fire and Ice is 11 points away. Triple cap domination starting to get threatened here. Dyslexic with a touch resets it again. That's going to buy enough time maybe for them to get back into the F hill. They're going to throw flashes. They're going to fly. They get shots on an INZEM. Stay here and try to go for this cap, especially now that you got that down. Both players are mounted up on this brick. The revives will start to come through. The reset again, though, by Hive. They're starting to swarm toward the F hill, but right now everybody is starting to fall to pieces for Fire and Ice. Getting down after down, but no kill comes through on Xploidz. He's still alive. Xploidz goes massive, and he gets the hill for the round and 4-2 map and match point. Fire and Ice, all fire tonight. They have yet to show signs of cooling off.
Man, and by the way, I want to praise Hive in that round, despite them losing, Colin. Remember, Fire and Ice was just narrowly away from a domination, but Hive never gave up. They never gave up. They got on the hill, they won their engagements, and were just a hair away from winning that round, tying up the map 3-3, and then, you know, at that point, Fire and Ice's advantage goes away drastically. But Xploidz, my goodness, what a magnificent man. You know what I'm saying, Colin? Like, that guy pulled up, he went big, and made that round his. 10 points away, but 10 points could be an eternity with how Hive was so aggressive and their positioning. Xploidz did what a lot of players could not do in that situation, and that was clutch up and make the round his. Very well done. Like you said, F&I, map point, series point. Let's see if they can do it.
F&I went for the early capture over there on the E-Hill. Couldn't get it off, so now you see them back up trying to play for a secondary pick there. They're looking for anybody to be able to get Lancered out. Fearzly will move up, throw a smoke over. He's going to try to blind out the Lancer of INZEM. The Incendiary, though, is huge out of Demise, getting that kill. I think Demise is going to try to push his luck here against Dyslexic. INZEM in the area pushed up because I think he knew that he was full red. I love the bounce action out from Dyslexic, trying to go for that little backslide onto that cubby, trying to get that next shot off. INZEM will have the hill. Dyslexic is going to get bled out here, and you see that they're rotating a third player over to that tank fight, and Hive is going to have to play this to try to stop the sniper rifle pick. Fearzly didn't go for it, and I actually like that play. He tried to sneak up to get that first kill, and he successfully did it. Meanwhile, it was answered back by TJ. You see now in a 2v1, it's going to be Toti hopping over the cover, actually lives the first shot. Full red, though, hasn't gone down. INZEM, thankfully, can save his teammate. A big 1v1 breaking out over the E-Hill right now. Won again by Hive. But Xploidz has gotten the sniper rifle and gotten out successfully.
It gets away. Oh, he had all the time in the world to connect. He doesn't. And what was that, INZEM? He could be thanking his lucky stars. He gets away from that one. Ice put themselves in a great spot. Although the decap might come through onto E, Demise isn't going to let that happen with ease. He's going to push up and just keep that pressure real. Toti's going to be Lancered down. Team pickup's going to be in place, but at this point, Hive knows we've got to push him. We've got to take this 2v2, now a 2v1 and make it happen. Fearzly, though, looking at clutch. Demise, though, will pick up one. Dyslexic now is going to come in for the refresh for F&I. And if Demise can also pick up Dyslexic here, he's going to be the hero, at least for this short period of time. Xploidz is also going to be in a 1v against TJ on the other side. Toti will join into the mix. So this could be a 2-to-1 hill advantage depending on how this fight with Dyslexic goes, and Dyslexic is gone. Demise single-handedly, I know he's joined by Solurs later on, Colin, but single-handedly basically holds down that hill for his team by himself, and Hive now is close to victory and close to a 3-4 scoreline.
And beautiful round here by Hive to get another one on the board, to try to get it to that round 8, try to get it to that round 9. It should be 4-3, and it will tick through right there. That all starts to me with Demise and ends with Demise. The Incendiary, the second kill there on Dyslexic, rotating over to that D hill late in the round to try to help put pressure on the opposite side of the map to keep the forces of Fire and Ice spread out. They have done a fantastic and a phenomenal job in that one. They do not get it tied up, though. They got to win another one to just get it even closer, just to tie it up, to try to get their first map on the board. Blocking the retro of Fire and Ice for a single round here, leaving the Incendiaries there. I'll be curious to see what Fire and Ice blocks. Will it be the Incendiaries or the Shock? It's going to be, looks like the Incendiary. No? Oh, back and forth we go. What is it? Oh, Shock. There we go.
Okay. And I think the Shocks have been hurting them, I think, more often than not. They'll take their chances with the instant, despite the instant kill potential. For Fire and Ice, though, getting their instant, I mean, that could be big. We'll see how that's going to play out, because the retro, fair enough, like, it does hurt, right? Especially with Fire and Ice's play style, but they're happy with the instant, too. And this is a side that F&I has an advantage on, right? They have a distinct advantage here. They can also go in for that early pick on the long shot. Clearly, they don't. But I do believe historically Fire and Ice is more comfortable on this side. I think any team is more comfortable on this side, Colin. So Hive is going to have to fight extra hard to send this to a round number 9.
Incoming fire!
Incendiary out by Dyslexic, trying to get the kill on Demise. I like this 1v1 here, and I like this spot by Dyslexic. A lot of damage put out toward Demise. Nobody's been able to get real control over this E-Hill, and Fire and Ice might get caught here in the blender down at this snipe, but a beautiful down on Solurs will really start to open things up. It is now a 3v2. INZEM trying to go for a flank, trying to get behind the forces of Fire and Ice. Wasn't able to do it. TJ's going to get marked out and is going to have to try to get away with his life. He'll get up to the D-Hill, but Demise has won a very important 1v1. He came away with a big-time fight to win a hill. I would have really I would have really liked to see how he did that, though, because we all know how good Dyslexic is, baby.
Yeah, Dyslexic's that guy. But you know what? I will say on Vasgar, great shot for Toti. By the way, he lined that up for a lifetime. Body shot onto one. He's just making his presence known. 4 more shots remain. We'll go ahead and rotate over to join Dyslexic. I was about to say, though, Dyslexic, though, in the 1v spots here on Vasgar Escalation, I mean, across the board, I think, have been a little bit rough. I mean, for what it's worth. But hey, it is what it is. You need the rest of the team to step it up, and they are. Things are starting to get hairy for Hive, Colin. This could be the end.
Yeah, Toti gets that headshot, shuts that first player down, shuts down Demise over on the opposite side of the map, opens it up for a big-time move at the E-Hill. That's it. That's 3-0. Hive, as dominant as they were last night, come out absolutely sleepwalking, it seems, in a lot of situations and get beat 5-3 on Escalation to go down to Fire and Ice.
Well, both of our matches that took place in the 5 p.m. Eastern time slot, that was Pittsburgh Knights versus Digital Gaming, Fire and Ice versus Hive, will end both in the way of a 3-0. So a very quick way to open up the show for Gears Pro League split 3 day 8. But it is what it is. Both teams showed up. They both have the same opportunity. Well, clearly Fire and Ice took that opportunity and they take the victory. And they look scary doing so. It's unfortunate, Colin. I know why you went with Hive in your prediction. It's a bold, it's not a bold prediction. I'm just talking, but you know, I was really nervous for this matchup personally for Fire and Ice because Hive statistically and honestly how they've been playing recently could do it, but they fell so flat today that it was very disappointing to see their performance with how they've been playing in the previous weeks.
Extraordinarily disappointing to see how they came out today flat against Fire and Ice, but that's not to take anything away from Fire and Ice. Again, they have just been playing with a supreme level of confidence for a long time. The only time I think I've seen them play without this level of confidence, without this kind of aggression and the full faith in themselves, is when they were in that grand finals against the United. That's the only time I've really seen Fire and Ice get just handled unless somebody disconnects or they play with a sub, whatever it might be. Outside of that, they seem to find a way into every match. They seem to find a way to make every single little fight interesting. And they keep a lot of teams from playing their normal kind of style, their normal kind of game plan. And I mean, my God, that highlight from Xploidz is going to probably replay in my head for the next century.
Yeah. Look, there's not many people who can go into that spot and come out alive, Colin. Xploidz did it. And again, statistically across the board, across all game modes, Xploidz is a phenomenal player, really leading the charge. Where Dyslexic may fall off, Xploidz is right there behind him. You got to give him a lot of credit. He's just a great player in general.